Hey, it's Darryl Syms, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can transform really simple chord progressions into something a lot more interesting, melodic and fun to play by adding some embellishments and fills on top of the chords as you play them to achieve something similar to what you heard at the beginning of this video. If you need the tabs to help you out as you go along, you can download those on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. In this video, I'm going to be taking two chord progressions from one of my favorite bands called Toni Toné. If you're looking for some new music inspiration, I definitely recommend that you check out this album here if you're not already familiar with the band. And the first chord progression that we are going to play is taken from the song Lay Your Head on My Pillow, which in its basic form sounds like this. Now what I'm going to do is gradually introduce some different embellishment ideas onto this chord progression, and we're going to take one chord at a time and see what we can do and what the potential is. So with the first chord, which is a D major 7 here, if we take that little finger off, that gives us a D major 9. Sounds like a beautiful chord, but more importantly, that opens up room for our little finger to play around with some hammer-ons and pull-offs, so we can do something like this. So you see, we're not spending too much time on that D major 7 chord, so there's not that much room to throw embellishments on, but just that simple hammer-on pull-off idea there already is beginning to add some awesome flavor. Now obviously there's no room to do anything on the second chord, but when we hit this chord, which is a B minor 7, we can certainly apply the same rule that we just did, and naturally the little finger's free to help you do that. So we can go. Now it's a little bit more challenging because there's quite a stretch there between the 2nd and the 5th fret. So what we could do is move that entire chord shape up a string. So the E string here. Now it's obviously got a lot of a warmer sound, but it is the same chord, and you know, it really depends what you're going for. So if we play a B minor 7 here, again, naturally the little finger's free and we've got a lot more strings to play with, so we can do something like this. So that sounds really nice, but that takes a really strong first finger. You really need a solid bar there, and it takes a bit of training to get all those pull-offs with the little finger. It's not easy, but it sounds great. So you've got two choices to choose from there. We played the chord here, here, and applied the same idea. With the next chord, which is an F sharp minor 7, we can again do the same thing that we did down here with the B minor 7. Before going to an E major. We're not on this chord for long, so we're going to leave it as it is. Same for those two, there's not really room to throw any embellishments on there. So altogether, so far you've got something that sounds like this. So that sounds cool, however, it sounds quite repetitive. If you're going to do that for a solid 3-minute song, it's going to get a bit boring and maybe repetitive. So we need some more ideas. And just a little side note that I really want to mention at this point is that it's very important that you're adding in dynamics. So you might notice that some notes are more powerful than others. Some notes I'm gently sweeping over to get a bit more finesse on there. So that's something for you to consider as you're playing this. You don't want everything to be at the same volume, and you don't want too much punch. You don't want to be hard with this progression. You know, it doesn't have that finesse. It doesn't sound nice to listen to. It's a bit too, calm down. So make sure that you're considering the dynamics and just that little sweep for some of the chords. Now let's go ahead and explore some more ideas. So to excel beyond this, you might want to consider maybe changing the order of these hammer offs and pull offs. So for example, rather than with this chord descending the run, like so, maybe you could consider staying in the lower region and sort of ascending, maybe something like this. You know, that's a nice little idea by hammering on in the lower region of the neck there. Maybe we could combine them both, so. That's an idea. And then maybe with the next chord, rather than just play it like so, maybe you could slide into it. Or you could hammer on from the bar. Or maybe you could play with these existing fingers within the chord. So for example, that's a nice little idea. So whatever it is, whether you hammer on with the little finger or existing fingers within the chord, as long as you keep that bar solid, otherwise it's not going to sound too tasty because you'll have all sorts of different notes in there. But as long as you keep that bar solid, it's in your hands to experiment with which notes sound good. And the best way that you're going to be able to do that is just quite simply to use your ear. Does it sound good? If it does, cool. If it doesn't, maybe go up a fret or down a fret with that particular embellishment or note that you played. Now, in order to be confident of the notes that you're playing so that you don't have to kind of guess and use your ear, that takes a lot of experience and practice with this. You will notice some patterns and trends as you go along and apply this to your own chord progressions. But if you want some assistance with that, I do have a caged fretboard visualization masterclass, which will help you a lot to get to know the fretboard a lot deeper and understand which notes are going to work with which chord. You'll be able to find that on my online school, which is linked in the description below. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how to make the transition between these chords and embellishments a lot smoother. So in order to do that, we're going to have to think a little bit deeper about our note choices, maybe slide between some of the chords or embellishments from one embellishment to the next. Let's see what we can come up with. So if we start with the first chord, you see how there's a bit of an edge to that. There's a clear distinction on when we change chords, but let's try and make those two connect. Maybe we could do so. That's an idea. Cutting the chord a little bit short. And you see, I started off with same. But then this melody takes me nicely into that next chord. That finish note there exists within the next chord, which helps the transition seem a lot more seamless and nice, rather than finishing on a note that's not really relevant to the next chord that's coming. For example, it works, but I think the former sounds better, personally. It's like we're anticipating the next chord before it comes, if that makes sense. Now similarly, let's try the same sort of thing with the next two chords. So we've got F sharp minor to E major, so we can go. I think that sounds nice because we slid from out of the shape and then we returned to a perfect E major triad there. And I played that open E instead of the 7th fret on the A, simply because it's convenient and it sounds nice. So with that in mind, let's put all that together now and see what it sounds like with both the embellishments in mind, as well as making the chords transition as smoothly as possible. So already I feel like that's evolved heaps from where we started. And that's just scratching the surface. I only gave you a couple ideas to play with there. So that's everything from me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you managed to take away a few things to implement into your practice. Be sure to give the video a like, and if you're new around here, maybe you want to consider subscribing for more content like this. And if you'd like to get hold of the tabs to help assist this video, you'll find those on my Patreon, which is linked in the description below, along with heaps more awesome stuff. Or maybe you want to consider checking out my online school, where you'll find a bunch of instructional packages that will help you familiarize yourself with music theory and the guitar neck. That's all from me. I will see you in the next video.